Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for 1 bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Hello, Mavs fans. Welcome to Mavs Moneyball's Group Therapy. I'm Kirk Henderson, and you are joining me at about 8:15 on Saturday, November 26th. Sorry it took me a little while. Kind of running the ship by myself tonight at home. And after finishing recording the podcast, went downstairs to one of my dogs destroying something. So it's been a fun night of sort of like chasing my tail, so to speak. Well, if you're here live, you know that the Mavericks just collapsed again. Well, I mean, collapse isn't even right. They kind of got their ass beat. Really no other way around it. Fell to a shorthanded Toronto Raptors team. Everybody played pretty bad. Luka played a pretty solid Luka game. He got doubled all game long, which contextually, that's really difficult to explain how a team does that an entire game and you don't just beat the shit out of them. That means that proactively the Mavericks were playing 4-on-3 for a significant portion of the entire game and they could not win. That was really, the game losing play was really sort of emblematic of that, where they ran they trap Luka. He gets the ball out to the short roll man. The short roll man passes the ball out. And then that guy decides not to take a shot and then throws the ball away because nobody other than Luka and Spencer Dinwiddie to a degree seems to be able and willing to take big-time shots. Largely, the problem seems to stem back to what we've talked about the entire year, which this roster is simply not that I want to say it's not good enough. It's not multiple enough to use a football term, where you don't have guys that can actually do stuff. Everybody plays a specific role, but basketball is too varied of a game to have, okay, I'm going to be the shooter, I'm going to be the ball handler, I'm going to be the rebounder. You have to have guys who do varying things. And the Mavericks don't have enough of those guys. While it is true they're still not playing elements of the lineup that we would like to see more of, I'm not sure if that it might make a difference in this game. I don't know if it makes a big enough difference in the season, if that makes any sense. Because Matthew Phillips and I just talked about this on the podcast that we did. He basically pointed out how the Mavericks ran like a 7-man rotation from January 1 on. This team doesn't have enough guys to be able to do that, and that's really really where we're at. Okay, so you guys know the drill. You want to come up on stage? We'll talk for a little bit, then we're going to get out of Dodge because frankly we got to do this again tomorrow. The Mavericks play again tomorrow, and we're all lunatics. We're all going to watch. So you come up on stage here. You want to talk? I'm going to go to people whose names I recognize less first. And let's not hang out too long because I don't, none of us wants to be here all night, I don't think. Mr. Davis, welcome to the show. Hit that unmute button for us and fire off your take. Tell us what you got. Mr. Davis, you there? Okay. Got nothing there.
Oh, my bad,
Right
my
on.
bad. Are you there?
There we go.
My bad. I was on. I don't know. I'm over here getting angry on Twitter, so I didn't think I was gonna go up first.
Multitasking.
Yes, sir. I don't know, man. It's like I'm a Mavericks fan, but like sometimes I feel like because there's like a large portion of us that is like oh, I've been a Mavericks fan since 2018 type thing. Like
Sure.
Luka got, but like I'm starting to be like, hey man, if he joins the Lakers at this point, I respect it. Because it's like this is one of those games where I was just like okay, so this game I'm gonna drink a little bit, I'm gonna have fun, I'm gonna enjoy this game, and I know we might have a 20-point lead, we might blow it, that's fine, but this is like I don't know the last time I was this frustrated over a loss, but man, like,
well, they've had a lot of those really unbelievably stupid losses. And they've lost 9 times, and I would say 6 of those qualify in the "Are you fucking serious?" category.
Yeah,
already. And because of the nature of the season, that's going to happen again. Like, you're going to lose like 2-point games or whatnot, but they couldn't get stops. They couldn't get rebounds. Obviously Toronto's very long. It's something that you sort of go into, but just like there's a lot of watching rebounding from the whole damn team. And we're to the point now where I think it has to be where it has to be saying, okay, what is the coaching staff emphasizing? Yes, the players are not producing, and some element of that I think swings back around where guys do hit shots because these guys are professionals. They're not going to continue to shoot 28% from 3, meaning like Tim Hardaway to a degree, Reggie Bullock, obviously another. But it's like, what is the team doing to emphasize? Like, what are you doing? Do you not know like that? This is how Toronto was such a pain the last game. It's like, what you're dealing with coming in playing some of these teams, and it's like they just looked wholly unprepared for what was happening.
Yeah, it's like last season, I don't know. I don't want to go into every season thinking like I want to, honestly, after this game, I wanted to talk my shit. Like, like fuck this team, fuck our role players. But it's like, I'm going to be honest, I did the same shit last season and I hate my words. But like if we're going to do this every single season, it's like, are we supposed to be a defensive team or do we play wood and, focus on offense? Like, I don't know, man. It's just so frustrating. And Luka's body, like, there's like people that people that focus on Luka's body language all the time and like look at it as like, like he's such a bad leader. And I'm not that type of person, but like, damn, like he has 5 years left on his damn contract. And I personally, like, I can't blame him, man. It's just like I don't know, like I know you. I'll be honest. I know you're a pessimistic person, and I'm a pessimistic person too. And I'm trying to be like half, like what's the term, like glass half full type thing. I'm trying, man. I'm trying, but like, damn, bro, like Josh Green's carrying my optimism right now. But even to it, that's it, man. That's it, because I can't understand what the staff's trying to do with Christian Wood. And I'm not trying to shit on Bullock or DFS or, but when you have Luka playing at an MVP level and Dinwiddie, like, I thought like we put too much of our expectations into Dinwiddie, and he played well. He's played well so far. And all these things that we thought would go, like, like you gotta like let your expectations go down because Dinwiddie might start bad. I'm not saying Luka would start out of shape, but Luka might start a little bit rough. All these things are going well for us, and we're a 500 team in a tough Western Conference. We're fucked.
And I just, Panda Hank on Twitter just posted that last terrible possession again, and it's just like, this is some middle school basketball shit. Kleber doesn't even fucking look at the rim.
Oh my god, Kleber. No, I don't care what happened to that possession. I turned that shit off. Yeah, no.
Well, thanks for hanging out, man.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you.
everybody, whenever you come up, do me a favor. One, listen for your name. Two, watch your audio input, just to make sure you're not getting a little scrapey there, because my man, Mr. Davis, I don't think he realized he was kind of hitting his microphone a few times. But that's okay. Micah specifically messaged me to say he had some things to get off his chest. So we're going to hear about it. Micah, hit the unmute button. There you go.
Hello. Kirk, how you doing outside of this game?
I'm okay. My dog shredded something downstairs, so I need to keep checking in on her to make sure she doesn't die, because she probably ate a bunch of stuff she shouldn't. But
That's my dog too. He's shredding everything I own. The life of having a puppy. But man, we keep on seeing the same things all over and over and over again. It's what's crazy. This is what's irritating. As mad as I am and upset as I am about the JaVale McGee signing, why is he not getting minutes in the one or two games where he might have an impact?
Oh, he played 6 minutes tonight, and he was a -7 in 6 minutes. He just gave up bucket after bucket after bucket. They cannot play him because he is terrible.
Oh, so he's out there getting cooked.
Yeah, he got cooked so badly in 6 minutes that they had to pull him.
Yeah. Well, I watched Dwight Powell get cooked by DeAndre Jordan, so man, look, Dick. At least he might get a a rebound, because Dwight Powell probably getting cooked and not going to get you nothing.
Yeah.
But it's just redundant, man. Yeah. I don't see the way out. It's tough. It's just we have so many of these guys that it's we're to the point where you're going to have to attach draft capital just to get off their contracts.
Could not agree more. I mean, this is why I wrote that piece last week. And frankly, I'm getting a little tired of, it's this always happens where you got media, podcasters, etc., some of my friends that are very optimistic. And I don't want to rain on anybody's parade for being optimistic. There's nothing wrong with hoping your team succeeds. But it drives me nuts when I see these games where it's there was 3 different media people tonight who I saw saying, why do people care who starts so much? Why do you care about this? Well, no, what we care about. I'm just going to speak. I'm going to give myself the Kyrie Irving role of being a voice for the voiceless and be a little ridiculously angry and say, it's not the starting. It's why aren't the Mavericks playing their best players? Why do Tim Hardaway Jr. and Reggie Bullock continue to get so much rope to fail, whereas Christian Wood gets 23 minutes again? What is going on in that regard? Why does Kid give this post game, if you read his comments and listen to some of what he said, it almost sounds like he thinks they won. I am baffled by that regard.
Right, exactly. And it's not just that. It's at the end of the day, I don't care if you like the guy or not. You gave up draft capital to get him, and I don't care if it's a late first round pick. You gave up capital to get him. He's still 26 years old, and to me, anybody when you're outside of 30, you still have chances to add and improve to your game. But to me, once you hit that benchmark, there is no more development, bro. Reggie Bullock is going to be Reggie Bullock for the next 5 years. And that's fine. It's fine to have one guy like that on your roster, not 7. And that's the issue.
Yeah.
It's just I thought it was funny because it's, one of those, we like to do, make up these fake trades to just get riled up. And it's y'all thought it was crazy to not want to get Ben Simmons for who was it, Bertans and T.A. Shea. Bro, look at the Nets roster. I think it's one of those decisions that, just like the last trade that they make, where it works out badly for both teams. They have the exact, if you watch any Nets games, their roster looks identical to ours.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like a 500 team, just like us. So
I mean,
why they already got 5 of those guys. Why would they want 7? And giving up their best defender to have that. Like, just stop it.
Well, thanks for hanging out, Micah. You got anything else for us?
No, man, that's about it. I'm just, man, watching for some kinds of joy. I've been watching the Legends a little bit. Yeah, I'm here to say that McKinley Wright is way better of a ball player than Facu.
Well,
sorry, not sorry.
I don't see, but Facu and to a certain extent the Mavericks, like, they need to have sets to run. Dallas runs no sets. They run a couple of pick and roll actions. That's all I really see. And when Luka's getting doubled all game, that's the other part of it. But like Campazzo being on the floor is basically they're funneling the ball to him and hoping that he shoots. And what do you know? He didn't hit anything. Oh well.
He had defenders like 5 foot off him when he was right at the 3-point line. Good Lord, people.
Well, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right. And guys, make no mistake. I'm not knocking optimism as a point of view. It's preferable. I don't like being right. I've never enjoyed being like getting dunked on about certain stuff is often very preferable because I would rather be like the negative shit and have somebody throw it in my face. But it's just, this sort of element where it's just like, oh, okay, they're playing 500 basketball at a time when we really expected them to be a contender in this group of teams in the Western Conference. And the argument back is likely, well, look at the rest of the West. The rest of the West is also sucking. That is true, but that is a distinct issue apart from, like, it does not excuse the Mavericks also sucking. That's the part that I find crazy. Okay, coming up next then, Robert, welcome back. How are you?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. How you doing? Bad question.
Yeah.
So I came to get a few things off my chest.
Please.
The first is I agree with you. So I about the Wood situation, I agree about the starting thing with the greater media. I don't care if he starts. I think the issue is him getting more playing time.
Yeah, which he's still not getting. He went back down 23 minutes tonight.
And this is my other thing. And I've been throwing this out since last year. And I hate to even say this because this is not like the fucking, excuse my language.
No, you can curse.
Okay, great. This is not the fucking, like, I can't even come up with the analogy. The key. This is not pulling the sword out of the stone here.
Sure.
But it's crazy to me that a team that's built around shooting open threes has a guy whose only existence is to shoot threes, and they don't play him. And when they do play him, they play him with Luka. And again, I understand that they don't play him with Luka. And again, I understand that he's a terrible defender. I get it. This is not the answer. This is not.
You're talking Davis Bertans, to be clear,
exactly,
right? Okay.
Exactly. This is not going to put them into first place. I totally get that. But it's just baffling to me that the only times they play him with the bench mob, which again does not run plays. And so it's just, I don't understand. Like, Hardaway can't hit shots. Like, Hardaway doesn't play defense either. Now,
right.
I guess in a vacuum, Hardaway's a better defender than Bertans. But at a certain point, it's like, I just don't understand, like, why not just throw him out there for 10 minutes a game with Luka, not with Dinwiddie, with Luka, and just see if he can hit open threes? Because we know if there's one thing he can do, it's hit open threes. Am I crazy? Like, what is the thing I'm missing?
I mean, the only, like the coaching reason behind it is because playing Luka and Davis together is a bit of a risk, but I don't see it. Like, I'm just to the point now where with Tim Hardaway Jr. in particular, who is like, he looks so athletic.
Bad defensively.
He looks so athletic, and he should be a good defender. He is not a good defender.
So bad.
So it's like I get your frustration with that element of it for sure.
I don't hate Bullock because I feel like Bullock will turn it around.
Yeah. And
I feel like he's not like a lockdown guy. Like, I know that's our defense of him, that he's a great defender, and he's not a lockdown guy, but he does defend. But Hardaway is like one of my favorite. I'm sorry, I'm trying to zip through this, but one of my favorite Luka clips is the game when they were still in the bubble. They weren't in the bubble, but there were still no fans. It was against Boston, right, where he hit the 2 threes back to back to win. Remember that? It was on TNT. And the funny thing is, he hit the one that put him up 1 or something, and it went back, and Jaylen Brown just went by Hardaway and dunked. to put Boston up with whatever 8 seconds left.
Yep.
And that's like my favorite Tim Hardaway play ever, because it's like he just didn't do anything, like just nothing. Like he just like no, he just did the Matador and he just let him go by him. And I mean, just give his minutes to Bertans, who again does not attack closeouts, right? We all know that, but he can hit open threes. So that's my thing. And my other coaching thing is like I hate to get on the coaching, because I'm very much in the camp of this is Mark Cuban's fault. Like,
oh, sure.
Like I'm hardcore 100%. This is a roster issue. There's no magical like key to solve this, because, you know, they are the 2007 Cavs, right? Where it's just LeBron and Mozgov and Tristan Thompson, like just this awful roster with this, you know, Della Vedova, right? With this one transcendent guy. And like every game is watching that 2007 finals against the Spurs, right? That's how it feels. But at the same time, because the roster is so limited, they need to maximize what little they have. And the frustrating thing for me is that they don't run plays. And it's like, especially because, you know, Kid gets a lot of flack for how he never calls timeouts, right? Which I get upset about. Like, because it's unclear if he knows he's allowed to call timeouts before they go down. Like if he does not know that, one of the 25 assistants should explain that he's allowed to call timeouts. But my other complaint about it is that the few times he's actually called a timeout during a run, but it doesn't matter because he does not draw up plays like out of the timeout. Like, say what you will about Carlisle, he knew how to score out of a timeout. Sure. But Kid does not draw up plays, and I don't understand. Again, they have 25 assistant coaches. Not one of them knows how to drop a play. Like, when Luke is on the floor, I get it, but why don't they when Luke is not on the floor?
Well, my early thought on this, and this may not be fair, is that if they turned things around offensively last season by putting the ball in Luka's hands a lot more, there's nowhere to go with that this year. I am very disappointed in Jason Kidd overall. I don't know how I really feel about him yet, because there's a lot that I probably don't understand about coaching. But I just get the feeling over and over and over again that he has positioned is like he's good at politicking. Let me be clear. He is he's made a career off of politicking. You know, he was, before he came back to be an assistant coach with the Lakers, he was out of the league. Yep. He had no offers. He had nowhere to go because he had essentially pushed himself out by being a sociopath up in Milwaukee. That is all politely papered over now, but there's plenty of copy about it.
Yeah, picking a fight with the owner. Did he think he would win?
He's an interesting guy, to say the least. And, you know, I always found it interesting that he came back to coach at all, because he pulled himself out of his deal with the Mavericks to go sign with the Knicks. Like, that should have left more bad blood than it did. But Cuban is very into like I'm thinking of like Dom and Fast and the Furious, where it's like family, you know, it's like that's where Cuban kind of relies on.
It's a job for life.
I'm willing to give Kid like as much as, but it's just, I have a very dark feeling about all this, whether that's justified or not. It's 2 straight seasons of tremendously bad starts. That says something. I don't know what, because, you know, my optimist take on this is like the Mavericks have really nowhere to go but up. But I don't know what to make about that, you know?
Well, here's my Kid thing, is that last year his strength, it's not calling plays. It's not any of that. He got guys to play hard on defense, right? That was ultimately the answer that he did. Remember, he had the famous quote in the presser at the beginning of last season where he said, hey, we hang our heads, we're not hitting jump shots. And they really built their run in the second half off of defense.
Yeah.
If you cannot get the guys to play hard and look, all of the hallmarks of poorly coached teams are here. They don't get up for games against bad teams. They don't get up for games against teams who are missing guys. They don't hold on to leads. These are all of the kind of non-X's and O's things, right? If he's not doing those, then what is he bringing to the table?
Yeah.
And also, I wanted to finish with one last thing, and I'm sorry for saying this, and this is a ludicrous hypothetical, and it's going to just just play into all of our worst impulses as glass half empty fans, just very quickly. So assume that Luka leaving is what spurs Mark Cuban into hiring a good GM. And just for this hypothetical, assume he does hire a good GM, right? He gets the guy from Toronto or Presti or whoever you want to put in.
Right.
Is that preferable to what we have now?
Oh, God, yes. No, because this is not a team building exercise. Like the Mavericks won a certain way last year and decided they wanted to play differently. I cannot get past that. They won with 3 ball handlers and going small, and they decided that their way forward was going big in an era where skill matters more than size.
But honestly, here's my thing. I don't think this was like them making a choice based on strategy. I think Brunson walked because Cuban was not going to pay him because he fucked up the situation, which we don't need to relitigate.
Sure.
And then they got Wood as the backup, and they brought in McGee because, look, they did need a rim protector. Like, they fucked that up, and the 3 years is just unconscionable. But I don't think they did this as – like, I don't think they watched last year's Western Conference Finals and said the answer is less ball handlers. I think it worked out that way because of these other things. But do you disagree? Do you think that this was – like, I think the Brunson thing was just money. I think if Brunson was – you know what I mean? Like, if he had signed for – like – if he had said, I'm here for less, I'll take $80 million, they would have brought him back.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that they didn't offer him enough money. And when Cuban said that, I'm pretty certain to this point, when he went on TV and said that to Mark Stein, I am pretty certain that they already knew he was gone, which makes that sort of statement all the more indefensible and an attempt at a PR move to make it look like he didn't want to be in Dallas, when the reality was they didn't want to pay him. Now, that plus with the fact that they get, I still remember Nico's final availability, like what do you want to call it? The end of season 1, where he's like, well, we just have to get better about rebounding. Well, they got beat by one team with a big that makes like $5 million a year. And so it's pretty frustrating. Well, Robert, I got a bunch of people I'm going to get to. Thank you for hanging out.
Yep.
All right. Now you guys see Josh Bowes up on stage. Josh, I'm going to let you speak your piece since you weren't able to come on the show tonight, mainly because I didn't want to stay up till 10 o'clock, like working.
Yeah, it's been a little bit chaotic at our house, so I've been doing some solo parenting. Significant other has been under the weather. You know how things go. Sure. I know you've been there. I did manage to still watch the entire game, sitting next to my 21-month-old daughter at a Buffalo Wild Wings.
That's amazing.
So maybe not the most analytical perspective on the planet, but I mean, I still got to watch it. And I think, I'm sure you probably talked about it on the podcast. I'm sure some people, I haven't been in the group, I just joined the room, so I'm sure people have said it. But I can't emphasize enough how bad this loss was. Toronto was giving that game away in the fourth quarter. I mean, the things that they were doing, they ran like 3 or 4 straight post-up. Like, they posted up Thad Young against Luka, which is like the worst way to attack Luka if you're trying to attack him on defense, is to try to post him up. Like, that's the one thing that he is super sturdy at. They posted up Thad Young. They posted up OG. They ran all these post-ups, despite the fact that they got their lead by, running more pick and roll and Van Vliet, doing stuff with the ball in his hands. And then they just stopped and they decided, all right, we're gonna post up the Mavs, which they basically threw away 4 possessions in a row. OG gets how many flagrant fouls happen defending a ball screen and you foul the guy without the ball? Like, how many flagrant fouls are called on people that aren't holding or don't have the ball? Like, that's another gift. And then what's his name? Boucher, I'm sure that's probably how it's pronounced. He missed that free throw. That would have been a 4-point game with like 50 seconds left, that's a big deal. They turned it from a 2-possession game to 1-possession game. He missed that free throw. He kept it a 3-point game. I mean, they just did so much to get the Mavericks in this game, and the Mavericks still lost with a completely healthy roster, with Luka looking good. Like, Maxi's back, and Maxi looked good. Like, he didn't even look like he had that much rest. Of course, he had deer in the headlights in the final possession, but like, they're on 2 days rest. Like, I don't know. Like, that's that's an indefensible loss, and anyone trying to defend it, I just may God have mercy on your soul. I just don't know what to say anymore. I mean,
well, and
it's pretty
you
crazy.
Did you hear my little riff on like kind of the unforced, or like the what I feel is like forced optimism from around like Mavs land? Did you hear any of that?
I didn't hear that. The last I heard was your last.
Okay, so I basically talked about like I find myself just like very confused why there's a lot of like, well, this is going to be like, why are we concerned with the starters, for example? And that, Brad Townsend's been pretty vocal, and he's right with the numbers, because like Dwight's been fine. Like it's a not understanding why the best lineups aren't used more often, I think is really where we're going with this. And to me, there's just no easy answer. Like, they're going to play the Bucks tomorrow night after Luka Doncic played 43 minutes, and they're going to get destroyed.
Or they'll win because the Mavericks are weird.
Because Luka really always gets it up for playing against the very best players in the league. But the Bucks are a defensive monster. They are. Yeah. They I think they lead the league in defensive field goal percentage, and the Mavericks can't hit the broadside of a barn. So this could be. So they're going to be under 500, maybe. And if they're not, great. We'll come back in here and just be like, whew. I just really wish they would have won this one, because then
this was the one to win.
They have to play like kind of 500 basketball until they figure something out. They cannot lose winnable games, and they've lost so many winnable games.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And this game, I got another thing I want to talk about, but like this game specifically, like, everyone's talking about, the starters and play your 5 best guys as much as you can. And I understand Wood should have probably played a little bit more in the fourth quarter. I mean, he should have at least been on the floor in the final possession. That's indefensible. You're down 3, and he's probably your best 3-point shooter, your best spot up 3-point shooter.
He's shooting 45% from 3.
Yeah, he has to be on the floor. But I don't want to. I'm not trying to defend any decision making or anything like that, because I've got questions about it. But this wasn't Wood's best game. He had he was 3 of 8 from the floor. He did have 6. The thing that was crazy was he was clearly their best rebounder. I felt like, besides Luka, he probably should have been on the floor more to prevent so many of those extra point chance opportunities. But he was 3 of 8. I know. He had 3 blocks, which was nice. He had 3 turnovers. It wasn't like he was playing against Boston. He was a little bit worse. But I still disagree. Still should have been on the floor of the final possession. And, Josh Green missed all his threes and had 6 fouls in 17 minutes. Like, even if Kid wanted to play these, Green more over Bullock, like, Green just he physically didn't allow him to play more. Like, he fouled out. What are you going to do? Like, and that's what me and you were talking about when we see the reaction and people are thinking, like Josh Green, like if you start Josh Green, this is going to turn this thing around. And it's like, okay, like we have to, let's be like realistic, and like we have to understand like the capabilities of some of these guys, and it's just not that easy, like it's Josh Green is still a raw talent that's being groomed and developed, and there's still areas of his game to polish. Like, you're just not going to go on like a 21 to 10 run if he's your starter all of a sudden, because we've seen these games where Kid tries to get him into the game more, and he has games like tonight, which is, again, nothing against Green. Like, it's fine that he has a game like tonight.
Yeah, I thought he has a really rough plus minus, but I thought he played fine. He took the shots that were available to him.
He did, and then he took 2 threes, but he had 2 makes at the rim, I believe, and he drove closeouts. So like it's fine, but like this idea that if like they'll be like a 55-win team if he starts, or if he averages 35 minutes a game, that's where I'm like, why are you doing this to yourselves? Because you're only going to be disappointed when the reality hits, and he sometimes has some games like tonight, which is normal for young developing players. Like,
I mean, and that's what just stands out in this whole thing, where it's like Dorian, Reggie, and Green and Tim all sucked.
Yeah.
Like they all sucked.
At least Dorian found his way to 16 points, which was kind of nice. Like,
Yes.
Not trying to defend, he still missed 6 threes, which was a big reason they lost.
Wide open threes, all of them.
But at least even though he was slumping, he managed, like he did some other stuff.
Yeah.
When Bullock's not hitting shots, he just doesn't really do anything unless he's playing defense. But another thing I want to talk about is I think why the fan base is just so frustrated after all these losses is because I think everyone just keeps looking toward the future, and this team could turn, Bullock is going to flip a switch and probably start hitting 39% of his threes again. Same with Finney Smith. I don't know about Tim. I think Tim might be a lost cause, but they might be able to work around that if Green can keep developing. But if Bullock and Finney Smith turn around and get back to being 39%, 38% three-point shooters, like the team's going to stabilize and they'll start winning some games, and they'll get back into, hopefully climb out of like the playing tournament range, And that wouldn't be crazy if that happens. But I think with people like, where's the upside? Like, okay, you do that, you're a 5th seed or maybe a 5th seed or something like that. Like, but what about like next year and the year after that? Like the plan, it's just not, if Finney Smith and Bullock and Maxey were 25-year-old former first-round picks, you'd be like, okay, well, there's still some up. Like, no, these guys are tapped out. Dorian's almost 30. Bullock is like 31. Maxey is 30. He'll be 31 before the season ends. Like, there's just no, this is like what we saw last season is kind of it. And you just hope that they make more threes in that Western Conference Finals. So, they don't have that collapse in game 2. But that's the ceiling of the team. And so you don't have Brunson. They just don't have any. Green is literally the only player on the team that shows any type of promise that you could imagine him being on the roster in 4 to 5 years, right? Doing more in 4 to 5 years. Finney Smith might be on the roster, but he's still going to be your 9 to 10 point per game guy that only shoots spot up threes. And these guys have been on the roster forever. Like Kleba and Powell and Finney Smith, they're 3 of the top, 6-7 minutes on the team year in and year out. And again, it's nothing against those guys, but I can understand where the impatience comes from, because really the only thing fans have to look forward to other than the team kind of turning it around is just some miracle trade that we can't think of. There's no cap space. There's no draft pick that's coming, maybe Hardy, but second round picks the rate that they work out is very difficult. So I think that's got to be why people get so frustrated after these losses, because it's not like Finney Smith is a prospect, like a blue chip prospect. Like, this is him. Like, this is Bullock. This is Maxey. This is who they are. They've already tapped them out talent wise, and their game isn't going to drastically change anymore. So, and Luka is like 4 to 5 years younger than all these guys, and it's like what's this roster going to look like when Luka's 28? And I don't think no one has an answer to that question.
I mean, no,
and that's scary.
Josh, the overarching answer that scares the shit out of most of us is Luka won't be on the roster.
On the roster, yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
That's the problem. Like everybody, but we've been all sort of browbeat because Dirk was a transcendent star who was willing to stay despite the bullshit and bad luck. Really, they had a lot of bad luck. Versus this stuff now, which is frankly self-imposed pain.
Yeah, and this is where I whisper they were better at building the roster with Dirk in his prime than they are with Luka,
which is just incredible.
I know. Can you imagine saying that 5 years ago, or when Luka gets drafted? Like if someone came in the future and said, "Hey, 4 years from now, you're gonna wish you had the Mavericks front office from 2005 or 2006." Because it's
and we have Rebecca in the chat says he deserves better than this. God dang right he does, but nobody seems to be willing to hold the Mavericks themselves accountable. Every time Josh and I do anything, we get gross amounts of pushback from people. Now, the grassroots, let's just call it that. The fan base is slowly starting to inch up, but there's an apparatus that exists to tell you how everything is fine, and it's not. It's not terrible, but Luka, it can't be the only solution. They have to be lucky in some regards. I don't want to be too harsh on the Mavericks here because team building does involve some luck,
But the fact that they've messed up as often as they have is really quite impressive.
Yeah, they've encountered some bad luck, but the things that have been in their control, I mean, they're like over on everything that they can control for the most part.
For sure.
That's tough. And it's just, that when I saw that you retweeted that ESPN stats and info tweet about the Mavericks record when Luka didn't score 25 points, and I'm just like, holy shit, man.
For anybody who doesn't know, the Mavericks are they play 500 basketball during Luka's career. Like whenever Luka plays, if they score 25, if Luka scores 25 or more, they win. And if they don't, they lose a lot.
Yeah, they're like 53 and 54 when he scores under 25. And think back in when Dirk was in 2003, 2004, 2005. I mean, Dirk never had seasons where, of course, it's a different game. It's a way different game. But Dirk would have games where he would score 18 or 20 and they would win. And it was and remember how mad we got about the roster building around Dirk back then? We were so mad about it. We were like, well, where's it? Because they still never really gave him a second All-Star during that entire run.
That's right.
Lord, I would take 2004 Devin Harris on this roster. I would take 2005 Josh Howard.
Yeah.
Holy cow. It's crazy.
It's just wild talent differential. And what the story always back is these once the draft is over, but it's there's a pedigree involved. Where it's you want better bites at the apple, and the Mavericks just haven't gotten them. I mean, Reggie Bullock's the best free agency signing during Luka's entire tenure.
It's followed by Seth, and they traded Seth Curry.
Nothing. Yeah. That's a mess. Okay, I got a ton of people waiting, and thank you for hanging out, Josh.
Yep.
All right. Guys, I'm not going to be able to get to everybody. I apologize for that, but I'm going to get to a few folks, and let's get your takes off quickly so we can fly through some people. Charles, you're a voice of light and optimism. Tell me what you're thinking, friend.
Oh, hey, Kirk. Oh, man, this is like the week from hell. Breaking up after 10 years. Probably been trying to keep it together for the past year, and I probably should have given up at the beginning of the year. But anyhow, that and spending $300 getting your car's key fob to work so your car's not stuck an hour away for 5 days and all this other crap. And this seems like it just fits right in with everything else, doesn't it?
That does sound like a rough period of time. I'm sorry to hear that, Charles.
Oh, well, I guess I feel like a real Dallas fan, like the local Dallas people. Even I was born there. I never stayed in Dallas. But just hearing people bitch all the time about their team, I guess I've really become one of the real diehard asshole. I hate this fucking shit. Sorry, my expletives, but
big fan of cursing.
No. I mean, did you notice that this is the weirdest game I've seen? This is the worst start I've seen Luka get off to at the beginning of the game. Yet, as badly as he was playing, in other words, he was just making dumbass turnovers, and that's not him. But everybody else was playing well enough to get us up. What was it, 22-11 or 21-7? And then they must have gone on a 19-8 run or something like that. And then it was just downhill from there. But it was like, what is this, a new strategy they're trying? Luka plays well, the team sucks, so the team's better if Luka sucks some more?
Well, they were sending a soft double at Luka, and he made the right pass fairly frequently. And they
not at the beginning. Not at the beginning.
There's a lot of sloppy ball handling at the beginning. I remember what you're talking about. Luka ended up on the ground 3 times. That was a little weird.
Oh,
then he got the hang of it.
But then he made some defensive plays to sort of repent, Yeah. But I mean, the thing about it I got to disagree with a couple of things. One about Brunson. Look, Brunson's dad and the coach that was with the Bulls for so long. Now he's there. That guy's known him since he was a little baby. And there's more family there than there is here in Dallas. And the real reason he's gone is, let's face it, he would say it all the time, Luka's just a perennial, once in a time talent, and he's going to have the ball in his hands. You want to go somewhere where you get the ball in your hands, right? Because that's what he does well, is when he gets to make more decisions. So he just had more opportunity somewhere else. And then again, with Tim Hardaway, the guy's still getting in shape. That they're being careful with him, and he's he may not be playing his worst he's ever played, but I mean,
he might be.
But there's plenty of other people who are playing worse than he is my opinion. I think Maxey helped everything. But I honestly, I think we play really badly when we have a couple of days off. I think when we play every other day, we're in a better rhythm. But God, these last 3 games are brutal. I mean, we should have won that Denver game. And I'm sorry, but I've got to say the officials had their hand in the past 3 games. Now, we definitely lost tonight, hands down. And I'm not saying that we lose because of the officials entirely. But in that Denver game, that is the weirdest second half I have ever seen. Somebody just saying, oh, here, you guys get the ball we're going to replay the end of the last half, and then we're going to let you just take momentum home from there. I mean, it wasn't just that. There were if they weren't making a mistake on a call, they would just, it's like, look, I can deal with the Dallas playing badly, but the refs also helping it go even worse is just gets me be pretty mind-boggling. And I don't know. That's just where I'm at on things lately. I'm just hoping they can't get any worse than this. We've watched them come out of the dugout from like the late 80s and go anywhere but further down. Anywhere but further down. I don't know. The Bucks are going to kick our ass. I know that. Right. I just can't. Well, at least we're playing the next day, so you can wipe this thing, flush it, and and at least have that to look forward to, right?
No, that's true. That's true. Get mad about something different tomorrow. That's absolutely
yeah. Something we can blame it on something else.
All right. Well, Charles, thank you for joining. I hope you come back. All right.
Thanks for letting me rent. Yeah, man.
Of
Go
course.
Mavs.
Go Mavs. All right, let's go to Simon. Welcome to the show. How you doing? Tell us what you're thinking. Hit the unmute button when you pull yourself out from the chat on the main page, and it'll let you talk.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. Thanks for joining.
Hey, Kirk, thanks for letting me join. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Just a couple observations from this game, and then just like a couple big picture ones. Number one, I'll stop way short of blaming the loss on Luka. But if you compare his effort to like what he did in Boston on Wednesday, like it seemed to me like he didn't really have his fastball. I didn't really see any aggressive rim attacks for him. Now, obviously, part of that is Toronto's defensive strategy, right, where they're doubling him at half court on every single possession, right? I think maybe that slowed his momentum early in the game. But in that situation where they're playing 4-on-3, they just didn't take advantage enough with the opportunities that the attention that Luka was drawing created.
Yes, so many missed threes.
So many missed threes, right? Now, big picture, Christian Wood. Look, I know like Maxey and Dwight, I get it. They've been there for a while. They've built up equity within the organization, but Christian Wood is far more talented offensively than either of those guys. And for all of whatever his defensive shortcomings are, those are never going to get ironed out if he's not playing high leverage minutes early in the season. Like, I don't care how many times Dwight Powell is in the right spot or how many high IQ plays he makes. He's never going to be able to do what Wood does offensively. And for this team, they need what he can bring offensively because there's really nobody else on the roster other than Dinwiddie who can create a shot for themselves. So if Wood is not taking his lumps at this point in the season, then he just never is. And they're going to be cooked later in the season. Like, I think my ideal closing lineup, I think, for this team would be Luka, Dinwiddie, Dorian, Maxey, and Dwight. I know like the fandom is they're big on the lack of minutes for Wood and the lack of minutes for Josh Green. I don't see it with Josh Green. Like I'm not optimistic at this stage in his career that he's going to be a major contributor for a team
that's been my role, is where it's just like, if you need Josh Green, the season is in a much darker spot than we want to admit.
Exactly.
It's not that he's bad. Actually, like, I love the shots that he took tonight. One of those goes down, maybe the game feels different. But like, needing Josh Green sucks.
Exactly. No, you're exactly right. He's a young player, and like I think for Mavs fans, we look at a guy like Luka where he was at that stage of development, right? But like most players, 90% of players that are at Josh Green's stage just are not ready to contribute major minutes for a team that hopes to advance in the playoffs. Yeah. But I think Christian Wood is there. Like, and like I was watching, this was from the Boston game on Wednesday, and like Doris Burke, who I think is for the most part an excellent commentator, but she's like making the point like, oh, well, Christian Wood just hasn't played, any high leverage minutes or important games. And I'm like, well, nobody does until they do.
That's right.
If he's not going to do it now, then when's it going to happen? He's got to play. He's got to share the floor with Luka more. Whether he starts or not is irrelevant. And I heard the point you make about how like people are like, oh, who cares who starts for this team? And I understand your point. But the bottom, whether he starts or not, okay, he should have been on the floor for the last possession. That goes without saying. But the chemistry between him and Luka is for the limited amount of time they've been on the court together looks really, really good. And, the one thing Dwight Powell does do well offensively is roll to the rim, right? And he knows where to be, and he knows how to play off Luka in that way. But Christian Wood can do that too. Yep. And he could do so much more, right? And then you could still have Maxey kind of starting in the corner and pulling up to the wing, right? When they collapse on the roll. Yeah. And obviously, I think Maxey, and he does a lot defensively. I don't think you're really at a loss offensively playing those two guys together with Luka and Dorian and Spencer. Yeah. That's the best hope this team has. Now, as far as the Brunson situation, I think the previous guy who was in on the chat said it right. The Mavericks, they didn't really mess up with what they did this summer. I think by the time the season ended, like Brunson was always headed in New York. Like the stars were aligned for that. Where they messed up was that they didn't lock him into an extension before his market value skyrocketed. That's where they messed up with that. But once the playoffs happened, like Brunson was gone. They were not resigning him under any circumstance.
I mean, I think Brunson was gone before the trade deadline, and I think the question that we'll never know is whether they knew that or not. And if they knew that, then not moving him for something is going to be one of those things that just sticks with the team. Also, they didn't offer him the maximum amount of money. That's just a thing. That there's so many mistakes, and team building is hard, but it only looks worse when you see how well he's playing. So
yeah, but he's at that point in his career now that's his level. Like it's not how it's that's just the level of player that he is. He proved that enough last year, and he squashed any doubts about that with what he did in the postseason. Like he can get a bucket against almost anybody, and he was so crucial for what they were trying to do last year, just because of how much Luka has the ball and how much attention he draws. Spencer can kind of halfway fill that role, but that's why you bring in a guy like Wood. It's like, okay, like if we're not going to get that scoring from a perimeter player, well, he's just another guy who can score, even though he's not a ball handler per se. So you would hope that a little bit of an increase from Spencer and what Wood brings, whereas previously that's an element that they did not have on last year's roster, that would replace what was lost when Brunson left. Now, kids' reticence to just kind of trust Wood at this point in the season, I don't understand it.
Oh, it feels intentional.
Even if you don't trust him at this point, right? Because
it feels like they're trying to prove a point with him. Like there's some games going on.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get it. I don't get it because like Doris said, he hasn't been on a good team in his career, but now he is, and now he has a chance to prove. And he's had some game. I mean, that Boston game, he was lights out. I mean, he can do so much offensively, and he's a good rebounder. He brings. Look, as much as Maxey and Dwight, like he's just a better player. He's a better player, and talent wins in this league. Yeah. So they have to figure out a role for him where he's playing next to Luka 28 minutes a night. And that becomes the battery, the pick and roll battery, and not Luka and Dwight, because it's like, as much as we love Dwight and he's a good guy, good professional, he doesn't have the talent. If you rank 30 starting centers in the league, where does he rank? Yeah. He's in the bottom 5. Yeah. Period. It's just
well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you joining the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I'll be on again soon, hopefully.
Outstanding. All right, we're going to go. And remember, guys, I'm going to folks that haven't come on, that I've not seen as much lately, because I have some of my regulars waiting, but I apologize. Joel, what's going on? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Kirk. It's been a while. How are you?
It has.
It's been since last season, I think. And it kind of seems like we're dealing with the same shit. I made a tweet earlier talking about how, honestly, I really don't care about Christian Wood's defense. Our defense is number 2 in the NBA right now. Our offense is number 25, with by the metrics, the best offensive player in the NBA right now. That is horrid. It's a chore to watch this team. We cannot win when we have the best offensive player in the NBA and we're only ranked 25.
That's right.
It doesn't matter what inadequacies Christian Wood has. Kid has to be able to evaluate the talent we have on our roster currently, and the talent on our roster is telling us that our defense is not going to win us games because our defensive players cannot play offense unless they're given the perfect situation set up by Luka. And I'm not sure that Luka can do that playing 43 minutes, 40 minutes, 38 minutes, whatever it is.
Right.
I'm not doubting him. I'm doubting his ability to be a one-man playing a 5-person game. This game is 5-on-5, not 1-on-5. And Kid needs to figure that out and realize that, yes, Christian Wood is inadequate at defense. So is Tim Hardaway Jr. So is Spencer Dinwiddie. And you know what he's better at than both those players? Offense as well.
Remarkable concept. Yeah, Jeremy in the chat says it matters more to Kid that he's right. I just can't shake that feeling. Just can't shake it.
That seems to be who he is. I mean, I don't think that KP was a fit necessarily, but I think his efficiency this year on a team as the second best player with a number 1 player that's worse than ours and they have a better record tells you a lot about his ability to work with anybody except a generational player. The role players in the Bucks hated him. The second best player on the Bucks was basically the reason he left, Chris Middleton.
Yep.
He doesn't understand that you can't just work with one dude. Luka is great. The heliocentric offense can work at times. But you know what it does? It destroys morale. And when you don't have results to back up your reasoning for having a heliocentric offense, it's doing what it's doing now. The other day, it wasn't just Luka that was pissed at his teammates. His teammates were pissed at Luka. There was a part in there where I think it was Luka trying to give Dorian Finney-Smith a high five, and Dorian Finney-Smith wouldn't even look at him and walked away. This is just getting to the point where it's doing more harm than it is doing good.
Well, the team construction is just something we're never gonna walk away from. It's just gonna be part of this, and it might just be the story for the season. I appreciate you coming back on. You got anything else for us?
I do have a question for you.
Sure.
It could possibly only be related to bigs, but I do think that people that would be potentially interested in teaming up with Luka, even ones that aren't bigs, are looking at the situation with KP and now Christian Wood and concerned about whether they would actually be able to thrive in this system. Because there's also not that many second stars that are great defensive players.
Yeah. Well, that stuff's got to be more for time. I mean, I'm not there's so many factors that are involved there where, guys need to be at a certain points in their career to kind of want to take a back seat to a superstar. The Bucks obviously had Middleton, so it's like those guys grew up playing together. There's difficult things that are involved. That's why I just think that's why I've been so frustrated for years with the pursuit of free agency as a path forward, because it's just not. It's so up in the air. You got to utilize all things, at your availability to try to improve your team. And the Mavericks have either just been poor or had bad luck at all these things. So I don't have a good answer for you there. I'm, the right guy in the right situation. It's like you never really know what could happen. I mean, the Porzingis thing in hindsight was just it was really poorly matched because Porzingis is just so injury prone. But like it's anyways. All right, guys, I'm sorry. I have to cut loose right now in a hurry. I'm hearing some dog barking downstairs. I hate to get out of Dodge so quickly. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight, and we will come back probably tomorrow night, and hopefully we'll have a W, but you never know with these guys. All right, go Mavs. Thanks for hanging out.